welcome back to part 2 of my first story time video. I hope you enjoyed the first part yesterday, which I did mention about, and it wasn't too boring, but without rabbiting on too much, let's get on to the second part. I got home and I was off work for about 3 to 4 more weeks, which was annoying. I went back to work and I then actually collapsed in work. I passed out for literally, I think it was no more than 5 seconds, and I just remember laying there. I went in that morning and the pain had started sort of niggling back. It wasn't anything serious, so I, painkillers, fluid, just went with it. And the ward is very, very hot anyway because it needs to be warm for the patients. And a mixture of that, I was exhausted because I hadn't been sleeping properly. I basically rushed back to work too soon. And I also then had a viral infection on top of that, which I didn't know. So at work they then sent me down to A&E again. Luckily I was seen really quickly because, the perks of working in hospital for a start, and because of my history. So I was seen pretty quick, and they said, they done an ECG on me to make sure it wasn't my heart, just for precaution, because my blood pressure was really, really low actually, and my heart rate was really, really high, which was not normal. I can't remember what all the things were in that. So they checked my heart, they checked my bloods. I actually had a viral infection that had taken over me. I hadn't recovered properly, unfortunately, and I rushed back to work too soon. So it was partly my fault for this. But thankfully I was okay. I then took another week off work because I didn't want to risk going back. At that point I went back the day after and I spoke to the ward manager and I said, look, there is something going on that I don't know what it is. I'm constantly in pain despite having the surgery. A couple of weeks later I said, I'm constantly in pain. So far I've been off sick more than I've been in. I said, if you are okay with it, I said, and if you would be happy to have me back, I said, I feel it's a good place in my life at the moment to take 1 to 2 months off, get everything completely sorted, because at this point I had about 4 or 5 appointments for different things. I said, and I want to come back fit and healthy, nothing wrong, la da 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 da. And she said, I couldn't agree with you more. She said, we would love to have you back once you're fit and healthy. She said, but take care of yourself, there's no rush. She said, you are always, the door's always open for you. So that took a massive stress relief off me. I had my appointment, I got referred, I went to the doctor and my GP just to, just get checked, and I was still getting a little bit of pain afterwards. So they done some bloods, and one of the bloods included ovarian cancer, and I knew it was, it was not going to be that. But anyway, I got a phone call the day after I had the blood saying, can you come in, we need to talk to you, but I had an appointment anyway. So I came in and they said, there's nothing to worry about as such, but your ovarian cancer levels came back slightly higher. So I've just sat there, I didn't say anything, I just looked into space, and I was like, I just wasn't expecting that, because that blood test was actually added on at the very end, just, it was a quick thought, like, oh, let me just add this on. So I wasn't even going to have that one done. So due to that, I was then actually referred to a gynaecologist properly. So I went to go and see him, and he was really, really lovely. This was the beginning of December. I had a scan, the end of November. So end of November, he said, right, I want to refer you for a scan to make sure you haven't got any more cysts, and then we'll discuss next time possibilities, and we'll take it from the scan results. So I had the scan, and I actually had 2 to 3 miniature cysts on my left ovary. So I thought, perfect sort of thing, and I actually had a bit of fluid surrounding the ovary as well. So when I went back to see him, he said, okay, he said, you have got 3 miniature cysts, he said, but that's not unusual. He said, as you are fully aware, women get cysts every month. It's not normally more than 1. He said, but in your case, they're only small. They're not going to be causing you this sort of pain. He said, so I want to go along with a condition that I think you may have fitting all your symptoms, called endometriosis. So I've started thinking, okay, might be getting somewhere. About 1.5 years down the line, and I'd never heard of this before. I didn't know what it was. I'd never stumbled or come across the word in any way, shape or form. So I said, oh, okay, what is that? So he basically said, the tissue, where the tissue normally grows inside the uterus, it also grows on the outside of the uterus. So it can grow in the ovaries, fallopian tubes. It can also grow on your bowel and your stomach, and if it's serious enough, it can spread onto your lungs. But if I have got it, it's not going to be that serious. I know that for a fact. So he said, what we can do, he said, we've got possibly three options. He said, we can start you on a combined pill to try to stop your monthlies, to hopefully stop the cysts, just to confirm that the cysts, it isn't them that's causing you the pain. He said, because it possibly could be, but we need to rule that out first. I said, okay, I'm happy with that. He said, but the other option is we can fit you with a coil, which basically does exactly the same thing. It's like a hormonal, it like injects hormones into you basically. And I said, I'd much rather try the medication first. He said, that's absolutely fine. So I have so far to this day, I've been on that for just over 3 months now. And unfortunately it hasn't really had any effect, other than it has stopped the bloating to a degree, but I still do get very severely bloated. I still am getting nauseous, I'm still vomiting, I still can't sleep, hence as to why I'm actually filming this video now. Endometriosis can also be confused with IBS because apparently the symptoms are very similar. And I'd been to my GP about it, and she was adamant that it was just IBS or something like that. So the GP thought it as well. Now, endometriosis, it affects 1 in 10 women, and it's in the top 10 most painful conditions worldwide, and it's in the top 5 conditions for gynecological issues. So it's actually a very, very common condition in the gynae world, but outside of gynae world, it's not known about at all. So obviously I've done my research into it, that's how I know about it, and it fits every symptom I've got. Now, the only way to unfortunately diagnose endometriosis is through keyhole surgery. So that's then the next option for me. As the pill hasn't really worked, it will most likely now be surgery to confirm whether it is or not. Now, the only thing that I have alarm bells with is the fact that it normally takes 7.5 to 8 years to actually be diagnosed. I've only had the issues for about 1.5 years, so that makes me think, is it really? But this gynae doctor, he's fantastic. He's been practicing for over 30 years. You know, he's probably seen this so many times, so that gives me the confidence that, you know, he probably is going to know what he's talking about. Is what I potentially got diagnosed with, so I started the treatment for that. I then also got diagnosed with severe anxiety disorder, borderline depression, because of everything that had been going on and a lot of other things that had affected me from previous issues, such as the issue I was explaining about earlier. You know, I hadn't been sleeping either. I had really bad, I still really do in a way, have bad fatigue. I could sleep for 4 hours or 12 hours and it doesn't matter, I'll wake up and I'll be exhausted. I sleep with a hot water bottle every night. I take ibuprofen every single night before I go to bed too, with paracetamol, because I try to take the sort of weakest painkillers that I can, because I don't want to really do anything strong. So that was that. So everything had sort of been, you know, going easy. I'd been relaxing. He said, I'm going to refer you to see me again in another 4 months time to see how things are going. So I was like, okay, cool, great, brilliant. So we'll give this a go. And throughout this time, I ended up becoming very ill again. Not ill, but, you know, I was throwing up a lot more. I started getting really, really bad pain at the top, in the top part here again. And so I just ignored it because I thought it's stress from everything. You know, I've been diagnosed with 2 different things in the space of a month. And, you know, everything's just getting on top of me. It's natural. I went for my theory test, which I passed. We went to Tesco's, and as soon as we pulled up at Tesco, I had the most horrific, sharp, crushing kind of pain all along here, and it went into my back. It was so bad I couldn't catch my breath. I couldn't sit down because I couldn't put pressure on myself. I was literally sitting like this in the car on the way to the doctor's because I physically could not sit down. It was so painful. When I did, it felt like what you can imagine as a pole being wedged right through you. So I've started panicking, thinking, you know, I'm on these tablets for the endometriosis possible. What the hell is going on now? And I thought maybe the tablets have taken an effect that haven't agreed with me or something. So I've got to the doctor's. they've referred me straight to A&E, and lo and behold, I've got pancreatitis again. So this was the end of January, so this was only about 3 months ago, and I've just burst out crying because I thought, you know, I've always been really fit and healthy. I was always exercising when I was younger. I used to dance, I used to go tennis. I was such an active person, so fit and well. And then, pardon me, in the space of a year and a half, it's just all collapsed out of nowhere. And by this point, I think everything just hit me, and this didn't help, you know. So I ended up staying in, but there was issues that were going on because my dad actually came up to A&E with me because my mum couldn't get the time off work. My boyfriend had to leave because he had to go and pick his family up from school or schools. And so my dad sat with me, done a urine sample, there's no water infection. They done my bloods. All my bloods were absolutely fine. So I thought, what the hell is going on? There is something going on. I know there is. So the surgical team saw me and they said, you know, your bloods are fine, there's nothing wrong. It's probably just, you know, gastritis. And they laid over on my side when they left, and I just burst out crying because the pain was still there. He came back and he said, what's the matter? I said, I am in agony. I said, there is something wrong. I said, I know there is. I said, and I am not leaving this hospital until you figure out what it is. I said, I'm not being rude. I said, but I've had enough. I said, I want to know what the hell is going on with myself. So they admitted me round to the surgical ward to see a consultant surgeon who my dad actually knows. And he turned around to me, he felt my stomach, he said, you are very, very bloated, you are very, very tender, he said, and your blood tests have come back extremely high. So I thought, okay, I've got one doctor telling me my blood's absolutely fine, and the next breath I've got the consultant surgeon telling me your bloods are extremely high again, at about the same levels roughly as what they were a year before. So safe to say I had pancreatitis again and I was admitted. This time I was admitted for about 3 to 4 days, and it took a long time for me to shake this episode of it off, and unfortunately again it was unknown, which in a 20-year-old woman it's very, very rare to even have it once with an unknown cause, let alone to have it twice with both unknown causes. I had an ultrasound scan to check my gallbladder and spleen and kidneys to make sure there was no stones or anything, and it all came back clear, and obviously I hadn't been drinking. And I also had an MRI scan, which I was told was fine and clear, as well as the ultrasound, they said. So he came back to me and he said, okay, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm really concerned about what's going on because you're 20 years old, 2 idiopathic pancreatises is not normal at all for anyone, let alone someone of your age. So I thought, okay, thank you for being honest with me, but you've just panicked me even more. So it was sort of a unwin-win situation. So he's said, right, I want to refer you now to UCLH, which is a London hospital which specialises in gastroenterology and other things. And he said, I want you to have what they call an EUS done, which is an endoscopy with ultrasound. So long story short, I've now got to have an endoscopy in 2 weeks' time, which has already been cancelled twice. I was meant to have already had it done by now, but they've cancelled it twice, as I've just said. So I've now got to go, not Monday coming, Monday after, to have that done, which I'm very nervous about because it's not something that I really want to have done. But it's basically to check that I haven't got something that they call microlithosis or something, which basically means invisible stones. So they're not actually invisible, but what they are minute stones. They are absolutely so tiny that they can't be picked up on any sort of scan. So they reckon that I could possibly have these in the what they call the bile ducts, which actually I've pretty much have mine, but it's separated into 2. This is what the scan showed, but I wasn't told this, so I wasn't happy with that. But yeah, so I've got to have, it's, sorry, not the bile duct, it's the duodenum. The bile duct separates into that, but something there is in that's separated in 2. So they want me to get checked that I haven't got any stones there, and also what they call sludge in the gallbladder. So basically what the sludge, I was told, is basically when your gallbladder tries to produce stones but it can't, and it gets mixed up with bile. and it just causes a sludge, which basically means if I have got it, I have to have surgery to have my gallbladder removed. If I have the stones, I'm going to have surgery to have them removed. But if neither of them show, then I've got to have some other surgery, which I'm not sure what it's called, and I'm not actually sure what it is. I thought I don't want to look it up yet until that's the last result. So yeah, that's my story for the last probably 5-6-ish months, which has been absolutely hell. And I've contained my frustration. When my camera did die, I will admit I had a little bit of a cry, because it just sort of, that's where my frustration hit. But it's one of them things, unfortunately, and I'm someone who for some reason unfortunately has just had all of this, and hopefully this will be the only ever thing that actually goes wrong, and it will all be sorted and all be fixed. So yeah, not happy because of how long it's taken things, and the fact I've had to argue with so many doctors. And my anxiety I'm getting treatment for currently at the minute, and I am feeling a little tad better, but it's still absolutely awful to the point there are some days I don't want to leave the house. And I have so many anxiety attacks lately, it's ridiculous. And as for my pancreas business, I'm just thankful that that is getting sorted. So as you can hear, my voice is gone as well. So I sound a bit awful, but yeah, so that's basically everything that's been going on. I really hope you sort of get a better understanding now into what's been going on. Thank you for watching, guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, tell your friends and family, and I will see you guys in my next video.